next step in the assembly of our pup is to create this cowl with the rotating rotary engine as well, the dummy engine, and obviously put the prop on as well. Obviously internally we've also got the electric motor. I just pop this out. You can see this whole unit comes out. Obviously it would be attached to a receiver at this point. You can see we've got a little strain relief here that you can wrap the motor wires around to stop them pulling out the back of the motor itself, which you can see sitting in here. And we've also got quite a sophisticated motor mount system here, which also supports the cowl. And between the cowl and the motor mount itself sits our dummy rotary engine, and then we have our prop, which is just a standard GWS 4530, but we've got it decorated with some prop stickers to make it look realistic, and a little plastic bit that sits on the top there, which is the prop boss. So we shall also, within here that you can't see, you just about see little bits there, is some ballast, because this being a very short nosed aircraft needs a little bit of weight up front in addition to the motor itself. And you'll find when you are constructing the dummy rotary engine, it's actually a very light piece of the detail of the aircraft, so it doesn't actually add too much to the weight of the front of the aircraft. So that's what we will be concentrating on today. I have a bit of a confession to make, or a story to tell, and that is our Chin Chow has taken a few backward steps. I've been busy with the lighter fluid, not because I was dissatisfied with the way that it had gone together, but we had a bit of a disaster in the fact that I took this aircraft with its top wing on and all the rigging and the wheels too, and I popped the cowl that I'd already created for the Christmas special, basically for display purposes, and also I was hoping to maiden it at the event as well. It took center stage on a display that we had there, and unfortunately somebody lost control of their Corsair, I think it was, a little micro one cell Corsair, and it decided to dive bomb the pup, and sort of destroyed the top wing. You can see there's still a little bit of damage on the wing there, but I'm going to leave that as a battle scar damage. But I've decided that the whole top wing needed replacing. The impact actually put the rigging all out of whack, and there was quite a lot of damage to the top wing foam as well. So I got the lighter fluid out and just detached everything, and so that I could start again. So I've already built the top wing again from a new piece. And saying that, if you during a build do have a bit of a disaster, whether it is somebody flying into your aircraft and damaging a part once you've got it built, or indeed in the process of putting it together, get in contact. We can always provide you with a new sheet of material, so that you can give it another go. So just contact us via email, and we can sort that out. But so I won't go through the process of re-rigging again. You've already seen that, and you're probably past that point. And I'm going to get the top wing on again too. So we'll put that to one side, and I'll do that in my spare time. And we'll crack on with producing this little arrangement of parts. The first thing I'm going to do is get some paint onto the cowl there. So okay, that looks a bit bright. You see it there. I'm going to put some undercoat on, or like a primer. This Tamiya acrylic neutral grey I thought would probably be best. So we'll put a coat of that on, see how it goes. So you could actually remove this part from all of the, obviously, the extra plastics that surround it, and then paint it from there, which is, you know, another way of doing it. But this way, at least I've got something to hold on to while I paint. And then just a little bit of water. There we go. That usually helps. So obviously the parts here I'm going to remove that are being painted as well, but we'll get the basic coat on. And of course you can also paint the inside too. So some I do, some I don't. But at least this will give it an opportunity, if we do it now, to dry quite nicely. Well, we've got obviously got another few coats to add. So we've got on this particular build it's silver, so we should be painting some silver onto here too. And also I do like to do a bit of weathering, so we'll give it a bit of a wash too. So okay, right, we'll put that to one side, wash our brush, and do something else. So I think the next fun thing to do will be to actually assemble the dummy rotary engine. So for that we're going to need several parts. We've got our little 5mm straw there, or plastic tube. Now we're going to make the cylinders from that, 9 of them. We also need some 2mm parts, which we've got there, and we're going to need some stickers too, and also plastics. So let's get carving some of these parts out. So first off, let's get our D19s. There are 2 of them. Go. Right, pop that to one side. Of course, the other vital bit that we need, which you should find in your parts bag, is this little brass tube here. It should be, I think it's about 12mm long, and that should fit over the shaft on your motor, like so. So that forms the central part of the rotary engine assembly, and it literally goes through all of the holes in the parts that we're cutting out for the motor itself. So so we got our D19s. Now let us detach our P29. There we go. Now P29 sits in the middle of these 2 D19s, so we want to position each D19 centrally on the plastic part that we've just cut out, P29. And also we can use the little brass tube to center everything up as we build. So we need to stick those on back and front. We're not going to stick the brass tube into the equation just yet, but we're just going to use it as a guide for the center of the motor. So let's just pop some glue into our 2mm part and the arms as well. Don't need much, just a few drops here and there. And then that together like so. You'll also notice that sort of the hexagonal arrangement should match up as well on the two parts, and you want these long arms to go down the center of each of these protrusions. So now let's just pop our tube through the middle there, just to make sure everything's lined up. And then we can do exactly the same on the reverse. There we go. So we'll just let that, make sure our brass tube is perpendicular to the motor itself. Looks good. And then we'll just set that aside to dry off for a little period of time. And what we can do now is start assembling the cylinders. So for that we will need the stickers. We've got a whole load of stickers, all S30, and we need our tube. And select the part of the tube that this one's a bit wonky at the end at the moment. That's got a nice straight face to it, so I'm going to start with that one, and I'm going to carefully peel off these rather sophisticated stickers. I'll just use a knife to get them started. Go. So the bottom half's fine because it's just a rectangle, but it's got this circular part with tabs on. So I take that rectangular bit first, and then just tease out the rest. So you've then got, you can see that little arrangement there. That's actually the top of the cylinder. And what we're going to do is position our sticker on the non-wonky side, so this side, so that the sticker, you can see there, where the round part of the sticker joins the rectangle, we're going to position the top of the straw, the tube, right there, and obviously try and keep the sticker perpendicular to the direction of the tube. And then we're going to fold down our circular part, which should almost match the top of the tube itself. And and then we're going to just push down those tabs onto the sides of the tube, like so. So you can see there, stuck down like so. Once we've done that, we will wrap our sticker around, ensuring that the top edge of the sticker remains at the top edge of the tube, like so. And there should be a bit of an overlap too with the stickers as they meet at the back of the cylinder. So there you have one cylinder complete now. There is, you'll notice, a bit of slicing through the top here of the sticker itself. So you might want to just, or you will want to just tease out that slice. It's probably 1 millimeter wide and should stretch from back to front, like so. So you've now got a hole in the top just there. So once you've got all that done and you're happy with everything that's stuck down well, then you use the bottom edge of the sticker as a guide for cutting this part off. So literally just slice through. That would have been handy if I'd done that all in one. Well, I think no, that last bit. Maybe I need a new blade. So now you have one cylinder created with that open top there through that slice. Now this should fit over one of these protrusions, and obviously the gap that you've created at the top there with that slot should go over the protruding plastic part at the top there, which is I believe supposed to represent the rocker on that cylinder, the rocker arm. So now obviously there's graphics on the front of these plastic parts, but there isn't on the back. It's just a single thing. So this is going to be the front of the motor itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that when it goes on, that the join is facing rearmost. The join where the stickers overlap as they wrap around. I'm going to make sure that the rearmost. So there you should now have that cylinder's gone on. You can see there, and you've got the rocker poking out the top like so, and then you've got the cylinder sitting right up against the inside part of the 2mm foam there. So now I don't really think there's any need to glue this. It's quite a tight fit, and we've also got other items that will hold all of this together. But if you want to put a little bit of glue on the inside, you can do. That shouldn't be a problem. So it's just on to making another 8 of them. Let's go. Ta-da! So now we have all of our cylinders on. And what I did notice actually when I was putting the stickers on is that obviously I've got slightly greasy fingers, and the stickers themselves were finding it difficult to stay on. So I used a little bit of glue as well on the stickers just to hold them all down. So that works nicely. So you might want to do that as you are assembling these little cylinders. So you don't want them coming apart while they're rotating in mid-flight. So it might be useful to actually just put a little bit of glue on them. You'll notice as well that you have an additional sticker there, an extra spare. Obviously these can rip if you're not particularly careful about popping them off. I've actually, a couple of them, I actually lost a little tab, that one there and that one there, but that doesn't matter too much. As long as you've got the big tab, that's what helps. So so now we can move on and put some of the detail in. So the next part that I'm going to use is P30, which are actually the represent the exhausts, or the exhaust manifold. Let's just P30 removal. Just a couple of little tabs. There we go. And this actually sits on the front of the engine motor, like so. And then these little end parts, you just need to shift behind the rocker at the top of the motor. So actually we'll use probably a pair of tweezers to do that, so that, let's see, hopefully on this one here we've actually pushed the exhaust part behind that piece that comes out of the top, the rocker that comes out of the top of the motor there, like so, and then that gets pushed as close to the cylinder as you can. So what we'll do is we'll fix this in place, and then we can manipulate the little parts of the exhaust at the top to the back. So taking it all apart. Right, so once again, I'm just going to do the center part of this. The end parts we're going to just leave loose for now. Go. And then we'll pop this on while the glue is wet. So then we use our tweezers. Mine are a bit mucky at the moment. They've got glue all over them for some reason. Just get rid of all of that. Go. And I'll just rotate that round so that the exhaust sit next to the cylinders, and then I should be able to just maneuver each part behind the protruding plastic. So there we go. So that's that on. Now we need to build up the motor, and to do that we are going to need D17. Now D17 on here, this is a this 2mm sheet that I've got here is I think one of the prototype ones, because you'll notice on the newer one, D17 is slightly larger, and that's what we want. You'll have the slightly larger ones yourselves. So let's remove that from this sheet, just the one. There are two there, but you're actually only going to need the one. So let's just tidy that up. I wasn't particularly careful with taking that off the sheet. So this sits on over the top like so. But before we do, we're actually going to decorate the edge. Oh, brass tube came out. We're going to do that with S31. Each of these, you've got 2 strips here, but once again, you should only need the one. So I'm just going to remove that, and then apply that to the edge. It should fit nicely over the white edge. So, because I've got greasy fingers, I'm just going to pop some glue right at the end there, just to make sure that it stays where it is, because obviously this will be subjected to some centrifugal forces. And there we go. Okay, so let's just pop that into place. We'll put some glue into the motor so that it stays in place. Pop that on like so. I feel we're missing something. I feel that there's something that goes on before that. And just take that off. Now, let's take a look at our sheet. D. Sorry, it's not D, is it? It says D on mine, but it's actually Z. Z17s. There we go. So my apologies. This is going on prior to the parts that I've just shown you. So let's grab a D17. Just the one. Which is not D17, it's Z17. Couldn't be more confusing, could it? And that should sit onto there we go. We'll just line that up with our brass tube again, like so. Okay, we're going to put the other Z17 onto the back of the motor. So let's add some glue there. I really do need to get myself a new microphone because this one just keeps causing all sorts of problems. I do apologise. We've missed a few minutes of my assembly. I've popped D17 with the trim onto the front side of the engine as it's going together, and I've also cut out this part here, which is P31, and P31's got some scores in which have allowed me to bend over these tips here, and each one of these tips has a spike on, and that spike is due to enter behind the exhaust that we've just flipped to the back of the cylinders. So just go round each one and just make sure that there is space enough for that spike to go in. So now we're going to attach P31 to the front of our motor. And we'll position each of these in turn. So we're going to position each of the rods in front of one of the cylinders. And then I was going to pop it over. Right, change of plan. I can't even remember my own designs. We're actually going to pop it into the front of the arrangement. So just make sure you've got room for that spike to go in. Is it really? So it should go in like so. So I'm just going to remove that. And take this off while the glue's still not set. I'm just going to bend each of these down slightly, just to avoid them curving, because obviously on the real thing they're a straight rod. So we've got a slight sort of coned effect like so. Right, so let's pop this back down, try again. Position each one in front of a cylinder. And then we can go around and just pop that spike in front of the plastic protrusion. So you can see there how it's all settled in like so. So I'll carry on doing this. It's all fairly straightforward. You can do it with fingers and fingernails. It's just a matter of pushing that spike in like so. And once it's done, we'll come back. So now we have all of our little ends placed in. Obviously we haven't actually glued them in yet, and what I'm going to do is just put a tiny little drop of the CA glue on the tip of each cylinder, just to make sure everything stays in place. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Done. So did notice that last one was a bit of a large blob. So just make sure. So that should now fix everything in position, so that when this is spinning round, nothing's going to fall off. Okay, so only a few more bits to add on to this. We've got our P32 and P33. P32 is to sit on the back of the engine. That's just going to go over there. Now it's decorative, of course, but also because of the hardness of the plastic, it is going to hold the central brass part in place. And so what is a very good idea at the moment, so we can make sure that our motor spins without too much wobble. It's got a bit of wobble at the moment. Is if we place it onto the shaft of the motor, when we come to position our plastic parts, which essentially act as bearings if you like, we can make sure that it's well lined up. So I'm just rotating it at the moment, see where the wobble is, and then just manipulate it slightly. So that's quite nice. That's got a good spin on it. So I don't want much brass protruding at the back because I want this to sit as far towards the motor as possible and as close into the cowl as possible. Pop some glue on there. Onto the back. Brass almost flush with the plastic. And then we can use our P33 to pop onto the front. There we go. So that then just finishes everything off nicely, so you haven't got much in the way of the white material showing through, and it starts to look a bit like a rotary engine. So there we go. That is now fully formed. We can pop it onto our motor. Just check how it spins. There's a little bit of a wobble still, so let's just that's better. That's nice. So I'm just going to take that off, pop it to one side, and let all of the glue dry off. And we should have ourselves a nice dummy rotary engine. So the next stage of the build, we shall put together the motor mount and obviously the sort of large bulkhead or firewall, really, I suppose, that sits behind the rotary engine, the dummy rotary that we just built. So let's grab the parts for that. Mainly, obviously, ply. So let's cut out our W2. W3, which is the large circular part. And W4s. We've got two of these, they're exactly the same. Go. Now these all should fit together quite snugly, and obviously W3 sits up against a half-built aircraft here, sits up against the front of the aircraft like so, and the magnet there comes into contact with the magnet that you have on the on the W3 part just there. So the first thing that we need to do is, if I grab that magnet, pop our magnet onto the magnet that's already sitting there, so we get the correct orientation. So when we pop our W3 part in place, that's where it's set. Now if I'm clever, I can now drag that off with the magnet in place. Gosh, it's got quite a pull, that magnet. So there we go. So that's now in place, and what I'm going to do is just pop some CA glue onto there to retain it in place on the part. And on the other side, I'm actually going to pop a sticker. That will. So let's just pop the sticker on back there. That's there. Just to retain the magnet that's sitting there. So, okay, let's get our precious cargo out of the way for now, and we can concentrate on assembling the motor mount. So the motor mount sits on the back and also upside down on the aircraft itself. So it sits in that orientation. This is the top of the aircraft here, and the underside of the aircraft just there. So so essentially the motor is inverted, if you like so. So obviously this is the pointing forward part. The motor will be sitting like so, and the motor mount itself should provide you with some right thrust and down thrust. So you can probably see, certainly when you're assembling it, you'll be able to see that when the plate that the motor sits in is situated on the firewall, it's actually got it points off to the right hand side of the aircraft. And when you've got your strengtheners in place, you will also see that creates a downward let's just get that out of the way. That on there. That on there. So there's a W4s going into your W2. So, and then that will insert into your W1, W2 I should say, like so. So that gives you your down thrust as well. You can see it's not at 90 degrees, there's an angle downwards. And so now we've got that all in place. We could take it all apart and glue it, or we could just get our CA. Now, previously I've used aliphatic in this roll as well, which works just as well. But I'm going to use the CA now. So the glue I'm getting used to using, and also there is a glue buster for it as well. So you can actually, like you can with the foam to foam and the UV pour, you can actually take it all apart again, which is a nice little touch. So I'm just going down each of the joins in turn. not putting too much. And this stuff soaks into the wood as well, which is quite nice. And it's pretty instant on wood too, so be warned. Just get a something to move it around. This is it's quite a thick CA. This stuff. You could actually on the wood use a different CA because it doesn't matter if it's not foam safe. But it's what I've got here, so that's what I'm going to use. I'm just making sure it's all evenly spread. What hasn't absorbed into the wood will act as sort of an external strengthener. On those joins. So it's all very welcome. Okay, and then finally I'll just add some to where the parts protrude through the slots. So there we go. Just making sure it wicks all the way around and into those joins. Go. So the other part we need, you'll see on the bulkhead. If you've built a Microaces rotary engine aircraft before, you'll know the setup. But you've got these two little slots here, and onto the motor mount we are going to add these little parts here, which on here aren't labelled. So I can only assume that they are, well, I'll pop them up on the screen, whatever they are. I won't take a run at guess on W5 maybe, because I've got W6s here. Maybe they're W5s, but it'll pop up on the screen anyway. So now I've already used two of these. I'm sure I've got another set of these around somewhere, but I'm going to use the ones that I've got that are in my vision. I can see them. So the orientation of these hooks are important. When you pop the cowl onto the aircraft, it should go in and rotate to the left, so anti-clockwise. So on the right hand side, this is certainly the left hand side with regards to the aircraft, the hook on this part, so you've got the little hook there, that should be facing upwards. So I've just popped it in there, so it's on the back now of the bulkhead here. And let's just bring that a little bit closer so you can see. So the hook comes through, and it shouldn't go through any further than that, but that's where it should be situated, like so, facing upwards, as this is the bottom of the aircraft here, top of the aircraft here. And the other one on the other side should be facing downwards, like so. Okay, so now they're in place. Let's just add some glue so that they stick to where they are. go. And the other thing we can do whilst we're here, so you've got to be quick with this thing. It does set pretty quick on the old plywood. I want to make sure that they're straight as well, perpendicular to the bulkhead. Otherwise, it might be difficult for them to insert directly into the holes that are provided for on the fuselage. Yeah, the other thing that we can do is just add a film of the CA to the hooks themselves. Now, this should absorb into the wood and strengthen it almost like an epoxy. Because obviously these little hooks can be snapped on occasion, which obviously doesn't help with the fitment of them. And so what we're trying to achieve is just a very thin varnish of the CA glue, which will dry off, and obviously not. You need to let it dry off before trying to pop it onto the aircraft, otherwise it'll stick, and we don't want that, because these parts are supposed to be removable, so we can get the battery in and change the motor over if required, and obviously get to the electronics as well. So just making sure that there's a good covering of CA, and hopefully it'll absorb into the wood as well, just to strengthen that little hook. So we'll let all that dry off. Before we do finish that, we can actually add our last few parts, and these are our W6 parts, which are these little bits here. And these can be a little bit delicate, so do once again benefit from a little bit of a coating of CA glue once they're in place. But these are the sort of supports for the cowl once we pop it onto this structure, and they sit in these three areas here. You've got the one at essentially 12 o'clock, and then you've got the ones here at sort of 2:30 and 9:30. So they should all be exactly the same, and they should slot in quite nicely. So little tap. Okay, that's nice and flush. And last one. There we go. So now those are all in place. Once again, I can use the CA glue just to run down the seams, the joins. Go. And then I'm just going to give them a little bit of a coating either side, just to add some strength to them. go. So we will now let that all dry off, and then we can start assembling the motor into that. And in the meantime, we can get on and finish off or get the next coat onto our cowl. So here's our cowl so far, and the paint is certainly dry. Not the best coat that I've ever done on a piece of plastic, but there we go. Right, what have we got? We have got some metal colour, acrylic colour, aluminium, I believe this is. Seems to have rubbed off though. It's not very good, is it? So we've got our aluminium. We should have a little bit. I've got mixing different paints here. So we've got. Oh, I think there's a little ball in there. That's good. That's mixing it all up. Right, where's my paint tray? There it is. That's good. My brush. Now this is more of an artist's brush than a modelling brush, but it does. It's soft. Probably uses more paint than it should. So I'm also going to put a little smidgen of black in there as well. See how good this black is, or whether it needs. No, that's fine. So just to darken the aluminium a little. Obviously on here we've got a little bit of wear and tear, a bit of weathering. So we need to sort of match it up, kind of match it up, if we can. So it's very good. Of the aluminium paint, and then we can just take a little of the black. Let's just dulled it slightly. Just make sure I've got my water close by. Clean the brush. We've got far too much paint on there at the moment. Let's just reduce that. And then I will imagine this is going to take several coats. Some more paint. Yeah, I think that could probably be a little bit darker, even more so, but we'll wait until it dries and see what effect we get. This is giving us a bit of working time. Sometimes these paints can dry off so quickly. It's gone on a lot better than I thought it might. There we go. I won't bother doing the inside. I think we'll leave that just as a grey. So we'll let that dry. Over there. Then do all of the appropriate washing and screwing caps back on. Good. Right, we can get on with other stuff now. Right, what can we grab here? So, motor mount, as I said at the top of the video, this very sophisticated motor mount. Well, it is when you compare it to something like the SE5A. Now needs the motor. So let's just unwind that. And whilst we're here, whilst I've got the motor out, I think I might just give it a little oil. So I've got this oil that I actually got from leaking all over the place. I got this from the railway centre, which is a model railway centre, which is relatively close to us. Well, I say relative; they're next door to us at the factory, and this is usually used for oiling model locomotives. But all I'm doing, I just put it on the brass bushes of the prop. What's it called? It's all leaking out again. Why is it leaking out? Is it so full? Something very peculiar is going on there. Prop shaft. Oh dear, one of those days. Didn't get much sleep last night. I'm sure you know how it is. So now we've got a little bit of oil on there. That helps it run nice and smoothly. We now need to mount this upside down. So we've got you can see the 4 holes there. So there and there, there and there are for the 4 prongs. And so once you've got your large gear through, you should be able to sit that down with those prongs coming through like so. And what you want is obviously the base plate there sitting squarely on the plywood. And then that adopts the angle that's set for it, both for obviously for the right thrust's fine, that's a given, but the down thrust as well, which is important in this model. So this is just a dry run. We are going to add, but also the other thing we need to do is we need to take down the size of these pins somewhat, because they can hinder the installation of this particular part onto the front of the aircraft. So let's just pop that back out. And then we are going to do some pin removal. So the easiest way to do this is using your scalpel, or if you've got a pair of snips or something like that, small snips, then that can do as well. But we want to take this one, the front one, down to just a few millimeters. So when I say a few millimeters, probably about 4. Go. So see there, a little stub that I've got left there. I'm just going to sharpen it like a pencil, well, to some extent, just so it's easy to insert it back into that plywood hole. So I'll do exactly the same on the other side. And then the rear pins we can take down. We don't have to go so far with that. Probably remove half of the pin. Like so. There we go. And as I said, the reason we remove these is because of the clearance that we need to get the whole of this arrangement into the fuselage of the aircraft. So now it should just be the same process, just with shorter pins. So this is once again just a dry run, just to make sure. Maybe we need to do a little more sharpening on one or other of the pins. No, they seem to go through nicely. So I'm actually going to glue this in with some of the foam to foam, because it's a good contact adhesive, and also it allows us to remove the motor as well if we want to, using the lighter fluid techniques. So I'm being quite generous here. I want this to stay in place, but obviously do avoid getting any glue around the moving parts areas of the motor. I'll just put that in there and make sure our pins go through. Of course, we've got plenty of working time on the glue. There we go. And just make sure it is well pushed down. There we go. And the other thing we can do while we're here is make sure that the motor wire is well pigtailed, a little twisted, and then we can actually put a couple of turns through our strain relief, like so. There we go. So we're just going to let that all dry off, which will give it a good sort of 20 minutes or so. There we go. Yeah, give that a good 20 minutes or so, and then we can start prepping. But one thing we can do while we're here, just as a bit of fun, just pop our motor on. There we go. Great, looks fantastic. So let that dry off. Make sure our motor is still sitting where it's supposed to. Good. We'll come back to that in a minute. While we're waiting for paint to dry and glue to dry, what we could do is start the process of covering our prop. Now the prop a prop adapter, which is usually supplied already installed into the prop, take apart. And what we want to do is remove, you'll notice on the prop itself, on the face, you've got an identifying mark, EP-4530, so that's a 4530 prop, and there's a little 1 down there, no idea what that means. And then GWS on there. What we're going to do is remove those raised figures, letters and numbers, just sand them off. And this is in preparation for putting our prop stickers on. There we go. So, puts all sorts of scratches over your prop, but of course they're going to now be covered with a sticker to make them look like a wooden prop. So let's just grab a couple of those. This is a fresh sticker pack that I've got here. Well, sort of fresh. Was it the one? I think it was probably the one I used to when I rebuilt the top wing. But, there we go. So, no matter. Let's grab prop sticker S33. So, now, as I said, my little trick is to wet the surfaces so that we have some slide around time to make sure it all goes into place. But saying that, these new stickers are a little more forgiving, so I'm just going to try straightforward attachment. See if I can do it any better. Match up that back edge. These stickers are supposed to be slightly porous so that if you do get any lumps or bumps underneath, you can easily push them out. So that didn't go too bad. That looks all right. Instant stick. Like it. Let's try the other one. So let's try that again. I'll be so lucky this time, am I? That's good. Much better. Still not happy. Look what I've done. I've ripped it. Oh dear, John. Right, so what do we do if we rip a sticker? Well, we carry on. And we treat it as two stickers. This requires some wild concentration. I do apologise. No, that's not going to work. This bit's got to go on first. So the reason it's got to go on first is there's just a little white line there. There's all sorts of dirt underneath there as well. What's there? So, let's see if we can match this up. Not too bad. There we go. Oh, you can hardly see the join. So there we go. There's a lesson on how not to put your stickers onto your prop. I suggest probably watch another video on how to put Microaces prop stickers on props for that one. So the next step is for the prop adapter to go in, and then we put the little decorative boss on the front there. We can't put it in with the little pimple on those, so what we need to do is just take that pimple off. So definitely coming to the end of the life of this blade, I think. It's finding it difficult to go through butter. Let's try another blade. God. And then took my finger off as well. There we go. So let's just rough this up a little bit. Okay, so that's good. And then we'll just pop it into the prop. And then let's grab it. So it's a plastic part. It is not on there. As if by magic, I found one. And I stuck it on. And I didn't show you. There we go. Good. Right. What's next? So you'll notice on our pre-built motor mount, we have this little platform here for the battery, and also a little retaining strap as well. So we can install that onto our current build here. You'll notice there are some little slots down the side of the motor mount, here, and here. And using P34, we can insert little tabs on that. Into those slots. So there's a score there and there we can bend, like so. And then those pop into the little slots, like so. There we are. So we're going to glue those in. Happy to just use a little bit of the foam to foam. That'll be strong enough to hold them in place. Go. There you go. That's it. And then you've got P35, which is this little strap affair. You should be able to put that. Just folds like so. Just put a dab of glue on the inside of the bottom of the legs. There and there. And then you can just fit that towards the end of the tray, like so. Position it a little bit further in. Go. And that should help retain your battery when installing. Okay, so we can now go on to, I think that's good enough for me. The paint finish on that, it's not too bad. It's light enough for our aircraft. But what I am going to do is do a wash on it, which will dull it slightly, and hopefully give it a sort of more weathered look. So let's just grab. I've got one here, one paint here called Rust, which is a sort of a browny metallic. And I'm going to mix that with a little bit of black. I'm going to make it very, very weak, so very dilute, I should say. And then we're just going to wash the entirety of the cowl itself and see what that looks like. Maybe drag the paint around a bit and make it look like it's sort of weathered and windswept. So I can get rid of that now. So let's bring on our paint stuff. So we've got our rag, we've got a paint tray, and we've got our water to dilute things down. We've still got some silver in there as well, so we might just make a whole smudge of this stuff. Let's see. It doesn't look very rusty at the moment. It probably needs a darn good shake. That's looking better now. A couple of bobs of that. A bit of black too. So we're going to blend into a mucky mess, and then I'm just going to make it very dilute. And I probably want it a lot darker than that as well. So let's just clean the brush off a bit. A little more. Maybe a little more rust. Quite a lot more rust. Let's see what that looks like on the COWL. So I'm just if I drag it sort of upwards like that, it looks like streaking on the COWL itself. Go. Imagine this oil gets swept across and around the COWL itself. So a couple of little bubbles there will try and burst, but they can be quite effective as well. Okay, that's looking horribly dirty, which is fine. We'll just let that dry off and see where we get to. Maybe add a little bit more. So I'm quite happy with the state of that now. So before we cut it out, I'm going to put a protective varnish over the finish. I'm going to use a mix of gloss and matte varnish because I don't have any eggshell. Just mix them in equal proportions, and so let's do that now. I've given them a quick shake, so I'm actually I'm mixing it actually in the little well that we're going to cut out on the part itself. So I'll just give it a quick mix. And then just give it a good wipe around. I'll probably give it a second coat once it's cut out. We'll probably need to do a few little touch-ups, just where maybe we've over sanded or maybe chipped a bit. So but that varnish I'll leave to dry overnight, although it should be sort of touch ready in about probably 20 minutes or so. There we go. That'll do. Pop that to one side. And clean the brush. There we go. It's quite useful, that brush, even though it's not exactly a modelling brush. Okay, well, I think that's me done for today, and we'll crack on and get that COWL sorted out and the rest of the front of the aircraft built once it is dry. So, oh look. That's fun. There we go. Oh, that's quite satisfying. That looks quite funky. Excellent.